She was left at the altar, drenched in rain, with makeup ruined and heart shattered. But when a poor tricycle driver offered her a ride, without asking a single question, he had no idea this heartbroken bride was actually the CEO of the very company that would soon decide his fate. The sky had turned dark far too early, as if it already knew what was about to happen. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and the soft drizzle quickly turned into heavy rain. Mia stood alone at the steps of the church, her white wedding dress soaked, her bouquet drooping in her trembling hands. Guests had already left, confused and whispering. After waiting nearly an hour for the groom, who never showed, her makeup was ruined. But she didn't care. What hurt most was not the ruined ceremony, or the embarrassment. It was the feeling of being thrown away without a word. Her phone had no messages, no missed calls, no explanations, just silence. She didn't cry, not because she wasn't broken, but because her tears had already blended with the rain. With cars passing by and no one bothering to stop, she felt invisible. That's when she heard the squeaky brakes of a rusty old tricycle pulling up beside her. The driver was a young man, clothes a bit dirty, face tired but gentle. He looked at her, clearly surprised to see a bride standing there alone, and said softly, "Ma'am, you okay? You need a ride." Mia looked at him for a long second. He didn't have fancy clothes or an expensive car, but there was honesty in his eyes. Without saying a word, she nodded and stepped into the side of the car. He didn't ask questions, didn't stare, didn't try to make her talk. He simply drove. The rain hit his face, but he kept his hands steady on the handlebars. Mia sat in silence, a broken bride being carried through the storm by a stranger who didn't know that today he had picked up not just a passenger but the CEO of a company that would soon change his fate. The tricycle ride was quiet except for the soft hum of the engine and the sound of rain hitting the metal roof. Mia sat still, staring at the wet streets rushing past her. She hadn't spoken a word since getting in. Rico, the driver, glanced at her a few times through the mirror, but didn't say anything more. He didn't want to push her. He could tell she was hurting. After a few minutes, he stopped by a small roadside coffee shop with a tin roof and flickering light bulb. "Ma'am, maybe you can dry off here," he said gently. Mia hesitated, then nodded. Inside, the place was quiet, a few old chairs, dusty counter, and the smell of cheap instant coffee in the air. Rico ordered the cups, using the last of the coins from his pocket. He handed one to her and draped his old, worn-out jacket over her shoulders without asking. Mia looked at him, confused. "Why are you helping me?" she asked softly, her voice shaking. Rico shrugged, smiling a little. "You look like you needed help. That's all. No questions, no judgment, just simple kindness." They sat in silence, sipping their coffee as the rain outside slowly faded. For the first time that day, Mia felt a small warmth in her chest, not because of the coffee, but because someone finally saw her not as a bride, not as a CEO, but just as a person who needed comfort. Rico didn't know her name, her title, or her story, but he treated her with more care than anyone else had that day. And Mia, who had built a life surrounded by people pretending to care, suddenly felt safe with a stranger who had nothing but gave her everything he could in that moment. The next morning, the city buzzed with its usual noise, cars honking, people rushing, and office buildings coming alive. Mia walked into her company building quietly, dressed in a simple blouse and jeans, with her hair tied back and no makeup on. The receptionist did a double take. Everyone had heard whispers about what happened at the wedding, but no one dared to ask. Mia's face was calm, but her eyes held a kind of strength no one had seen before. She didn't stop to greet anyone. She just walked straight to her private elevator. On the same day, Rico arrived at the same building, wearing his only clean shirt and holding a folded piece of paper, his job application. He had applied for a janitor position weeks ago, hoping for a stable income. When he walked into the lobby, he looked around nervously, feeling out of place among polished shoes and shiny glass walls. He sat down in the waiting area, his hands sweating, unaware that this was the same company owned by the woman he helped just the day before. Upstairs, Mia was reviewing files when she glanced at the CCTV screen showing the lobby. Her heart skipped a beat. There he was, Rico, looking nervous, holding his application tightly like it was all he had. She stared at the screen for a long moment, stunned. Of all places, why here? She walked over to her assistant and quietly said, "Call that applicant on the 10th floor. I want to meet him." Her assistant blinked, confused, but obeyed. Meanwhile, Rico was told to go upstairs for a special interview. He had no idea that the woman waiting behind an office door wasn't just a hiring manager. She was the same bride he had rescued from heartbreak, now ready to change his life. Rico stepped out of the elevator on the top floor, holding his breath as he looked around the bright, modern hallway. Everything looked expensive, from the marble floors to the artwork on the walls. A secretary guided him to a tall wooden door and said, "The CEO will see you now." Rico froze. "CEO?" he asked nervously, thinking there must be a mistake. But before he could ask more, the door opened. And there she was. Mia stood behind a sleek glass desk, calm and composed, but with a small, warm smile on her face. Rico's eyes widened in shock. "You," he whispered, completely confused. "Yes," Mia said gently, stepping forward. "I'm Mia Rodriguez, CEO of this company." Rico's mouth opened, but no words came out. He looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't mean to." Mia shook her head, stopping him. "You have nothing to apologize for. In fact, I owe you thanks." She walked over and handed him a folder. Rico slowly opened it, expecting a rejection letter. But instead, he found a formal offer, not for janitor work, but a position in the company's management trainee program. "Why?" he asked in disbelief. Mia sat down across from him. "Because you treated me like a human being when I felt worthless. You didn't ask for anything, yet you gave me respect, comfort, and your last few coins. That kind of heart can't be taught. It's rare, and this company needs people like you." Rico looked down at the offer, unsure what to say. No one had ever believed in him like this. At that moment, it didn't matter that he once drove a tricycle. He had just been given a chance to drive his future, somewhere far greater than he ever imagined. Weeks passed, and Rico's life began to change in ways he never imagined. He started working at the company not as a janitor, but as part of a special management trainee program created by Mia herself. At first, he felt out of place among people in suits, using business words he didn't understand. But Mia believed in him, and she personally guided him through every step. Her support gave him the confidence to keep learning, keep growing. Word quickly spread through the company about his story, how a simple tricycle driver had unknowingly helped the CEO during her darkest moment, and now was being given a chance no one expected. Some mocked, others admired, but Rico didn't let any of it stop him. Meanwhile, Mia also began to change. She stopped hiding behind her power and opened her heart more to people. She launched a new hiring program to give opportunities to underprivileged workers, naming it the Second Chance Initiative. It was inspired by Rico, but it helped many others like him. One morning, while they sat together in the office cafeteria sipping coffee, Mia smiled and said, "You know, the day you gave me that ride, you saved more than just me." Rico chuckled. "And the day you gave me this job, you saved my future." Their bond had grown into a deep friendship, built not on titles or status, but on kindness, respect, and trust. Mia never heard from her runaway fiancé again, and honestly, she didn't need to. She had found something better, the peace of letting go, and the joy of lifting someone up. Rico never drove a tricycle again, but now he drove ideas, teams, and dreams. Sometimes life falls apart just so better things can fall into place. And for them, this ending was truly a new beginning. If you love this inspiring story, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Human Fables for more heart-touching tales. Join the journey, real stories, real emotions, only on Human Fables.